Mario Kart every time. All right. So the first thing I want to just touch base with is reviewing what we accomplished last class. What was our main task or skill that we focused on last time? What did we do? It's only been 2 days.
Putting up parts in a drawing.
Drawings, right? What did you submit for your assignment from yesterday?
Drawings.
What? Yeah, PDF of the multi-view drawing, right? So we've done those before. We've drawn those orthographic views, a front view of an object, the right view, and then a top view. Multi-view drawings also include one isometric view, right? So we actually learned, instead of drawing that by hand and trying to get everything to scale, you can actually just make your part in the 3D software and make the software do it for you, right? Because as long as you make the model and dimension it appropriately, it can make the views exactly to scale, and it knows exactly what size they are because of the model you made. What we're doing today is an extension of that. The next step, when you make that part drawing, that multi-view drawing, the goal of that is to give to the customer or to your boss and say, like, here's the product that I designed. And here's 3 different views and then the isometric view. Well, what information is missing if I just give them that multi-view drawing? So kind of what you submitted the other day, if you give that to somebody, what piece of information are they missing about your object that you designed by looking at that drawing? Dimensions, right? When they get that part drawing, they have no idea if this triangle that you made, is this the size of a house or the size of like a sugar cube? They have no idea because there's only a visual representation of what object you made. They have no idea the scale, like how big it actually is. So now today we're going to take that next step, and now we're going to start looking at how do you add dimensions? How do you appropriately dimension an object? How do you make sure that you dimension everything about your object, but not dimensioning the same thing twice? Dimensioning can be tricky to get a grasp on, and so we're going to practice a little bit, and then, again, make a part drawing, but then add those dimensions in the 3D modeling software. The activity is 1.2.5, or 4, excuse me, and I want to show that to you, but I want to introduce it and talk about it together before I turn you loose. So give me a moment to get this up and running. There's a lot of things that I want to explain about dimensioning that there are just some quirks to it. This is my Apple TV. There we go. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm basically going to go through the first part with you. Instead of you reading it, I want to take time to go through this together. So when we look at dimensioning, right? Dimensioning, obviously this is a process. When you make an object, you have a lot of dimensions that you got to communicate to your audience. So there's actually a flow chart that represents kind of how we should be thinking about dimensioning. So, obviously, before we can throw dimensions on a part drawing, we need to make the part drawing. That's self-explanatory. We're going to design our object, make it in 3D space, and then we're going to make that multi-view drawing. Remind me, I'll show you a shortcut to making those multi-view drawings. You might hate me for showing it to you, but it'll help you in the long run. Counting the number of features, what are some examples of like a feature of an object? This isn't a trick question, Drew.
Shape?
Yeah, overall shape, right? Length, width, height. That's a great first thought, because when you start dimensioning, that should be your number one dimension. Like, I got to give the overall size of what I'm doing. What's another feature that could be in an object? Give me examples. This isn't a trick question. Just what kinds of things can you model on the software?
The different sides and shit.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So that length, width, height. Can you draw holes in an object? Yes, you definitely can. That's a feature, right? Can you draw other shapes on your object? Right? You could make a cube and then have another little cube that you extrude. That's a feature. Any additional like geometry that you add or subtract to it. You could make a square hole. That's a feature. A feature is a really vague word, but I'm trying to give you examples of pretty much any aspect of your object.
So basically anything you do on the rendering is a feature.
Yeah, like if I make my cube, Drew, you need my length, my width, my height. Well, that's the only features I have. I just have a three-sided cube. But if I drill a hole through the middle of it, I've added a feature. If I take a circle, or say a square, I sketch a square on the side and I extrude it out, like this, like a peg, that's another feature. I got to dimension that. If you remember, I mentioned the fillet tool. Instead of having sharp edges, it rounds them out. If you fillet your whole object, that's another feature. I got to tell people, like, how big's my fillet? So features are basically you're right, Drew, anything you're doing to your object. When you look at it, any protrusion, any hole, everything should be featured. When you have your multi-view drawing, you should always have the front view, the right view, the top view, and then the isometric. You never dimension an isometric view. The isometric view is only there to give the best three-dimensional perspective of your object. You never put dimensions on there. You only put dimensions on your orthographic views. The trick is, your hole could be visible here, and then you can see the hidden line on the right. Well, which view should you put the dimension for the hole?
Orthographic?
Right, they're both orthographic, but one's like, I want to show you an example. Like this. I have this hole. This is my front view, my right view, my top view, and the isometric. This is standard. You guys should always get used to doing it. Front view, right, top, ISO. My hole is here. I see where the hole is going from the top. It's coming through the middle of my object. And I also can see it on the right view. Well, where do I dimension the hole? It's in all three views. Where do I actually put the dimension and say this hole is 1 inch in diameter? Trey, what do you think?
On the front view.
This one? Any other thoughts? Huh? All three? Other thoughts? This one? Remember, we never dimension the isometric view. The isometric view is only for like a visual communication. Our dimensions want to be on the orthographic views. Hunter, I just said we never dimension the isometric view. So, if we dimensioned the size of the hole on all of them, aren't we saying the same thing 3 times? So one, we don't want to take the time to do that, and we don't want to have someone read our part drawing and be like, wait a minute, this number is the same thing. The reason this is the correct choice for the size of the hole, because this view shows that feature the best. In this view, I'm literally looking at the hole. So I'm literally going to tell you this hole is 1 inch in diameter. I'm going to put my dimension here. So the reason I'm pointing that out is you want, when you start figuring out like, I need to dimension my object, whatever feature you're dimensioning, you need to dimension it where it's best represented. It's most clearly visible, right? You dimension 2 things about the feature. If I told you how big that hole is, what am I missing?
Radius.
No, that'd be like diameter. That's how big the hole is. What other piece of information do you need to know?
How deep is it?
The center. Yes, that's another piece. We'll get to when we actually use the hole command. The depth of the hole can be dimensioned and communicated. That's a good point. But the main thing is the location. I tell you got a 1 inch hole. It's here, but where? Is it 1 inch from the end? Is it in the middle? If you have no idea where that center of that hole is, I couldn't recreate your part. I could put a 1 inch hole, but I'm just guessing where I should put it. So you need to mention also the location of that hole. So you always want to think about features, the size and the location. Now if you do the height of an object, you don't need its location because it's defined as the edge of that object. Well, the edge of your object starts and ends at the edge of your object. So all you need to tell me is this edge is 1 inch or 2 inches, whatever. And then you basically just keep looping. Did you get everything? Oh crap, I forgot to dimension this hole's location. So I need to go back. Figure out what view shows me that hole location the best, add my dimension. Oh shoot, I forgot the length of my object. Where should I put that? Then you keep going, and the last step, if you have a view that you didn't place any dimensions on, you fully dimensioned your part, but one of your right side view maybe, you don't put any dimensions, well that tells you I don't really need that right view. If that view doesn't show me the best view of a feature, I don't want it. So I would actually then delete it. So you always start with your front, right, top views with the ISO. And after you finish dimensioning, if there's a view that doesn't have any dimension, delete it. Because whoever you're giving this to doesn't get anything out of seeing a view with no information about it besides what it looks like. So that, again, this resource is on 1.2.4. So you could always review back like, oh crap, how do I go through dimensioning again? Drew? Last class?
Yeah.
So we did multi-view drawings. So we learned how to create.
You need to make that out.
Yes, and I'll talk to you once I get everybody started. We learned how to make. I don't have an example ready. I'll show you. So that's dimensioning in terms of how to do it, how to be thinking about it. The next thing I want to mention is this is what dimensioning looks like in engineering. The software will do all this for you, but you guys are going to practice doing this by hand. To dimension the overall length of my object, I draw these lines straight up from this edge to this edge. These lines, these extension lines, they do not touch your object. Your object needs to be isolated. So I leave a little gap, but I draw a straight line on my edges. I put my dimension in the middle, and then I draw these dimension lines that are arrows pointing, saying this 3 inches, goes from here to here, right? This guy, I want a dimension from this line to this line. Well, I add my dimension lines, not touching my object. I draw them straight up and say 1.5 inches is from here to here, right? You guys have seen center lines before. It's the long dash, short dash. That shows you the center line or the axis of a hole or a cylinder feature. And then you got hidden lines, right? I have a hole running through my part, but when I look at it from the front, I can't see the hole. So I show that it's hidden in this object with these dashed hidden lines. When you dimension a hole, you want to make sure that, one, you have this crosshairs symbol, right? This plus sign, that vertical and horizontal line that intersect the center of your circle. That lets you dimension the location. The center of my circle is 1/2 inch from the edge, 1/2 inch from the bottom. When you tell me how big the hole is, you use what's called a leader line. It's literally just like an angled arrow pointing to the edge of the hole. You guys know this symbol, right? What is the symbol with a circle with a slash through it? What does that indicate? Anybody know? Huh? No?
Center.
Yeah, in engineering though.
The center of the circle.
No. It means diameter. A symbol, if you have this symbol circle with a slash through it, it means from edge to edge of your circle, that distance is 1/4 inch. So that's always how you'll want to label or dimension a circle. Draw this arrow to the edge of the circle and then just say diameter, and then is 1 inch, whatever it is. Another convention you'll want to get used to, the bigger dimensions, you want to pull away from the object so that smaller dimensions can go inside of it, right? That way, I don't have this leader. If I move this out here, my dimension lines are going to like draw right through my other dimension. So big overall dimensions pull away from the object quite a bit. All right. So those are some of the line types. You could dimension a hole by its radius if you wanted to. You'd use a capital R, and then the number following would tell you the radius, 1/2 of the diameter of the circle. So either one. Radius is typically when you have an arc. If your part is like 1/4, say it's like a semicircle, an object that has like an arc, you would dimension that circle by its radius, because it doesn't actually complete a full circle. Alright? So what questions do you have about dimensioning that I just talked about? What can I clarify in terms of how you dimension the process, the rules, before I turn you loose? Anything? Okay. So what I'm going to do, so virtual students, this worksheet is linked on Google Classroom for this assignment. This is a practice worksheet for how to make dimensions. There's a couple simple parts. I want you guys to work through this. Feel free to work with your table partner, but start adding dimensions. Practice dimensioning a part, making sure you get everything, making sure you don't over-dimension, like do the same thing twice, drawing those leader lines, dimension lines correctly. Then the goal is, once you get to the back, that's kind of the one you want to be the best at, because what you're going to do is you're going to dimension this shape on the back side. It's drawing 3. You're going to dimension this by hand, and then what you're going to do is actually make this in Onshape. You're going to make a 3D model of this. Well, how are you going to know how big to make it? Well, you just dimensioned it. So you know all the dimensions already. You just make it, and then you're going to make a multi-view and make Onshape put the dimensions on there for you. And that's what I want you to submit. Does that make sense? So now we're going to practice dimensioning. You're going to work towards the last one, drawing 3. That's one you should be the best at. Dimension that guy. Make that 3D object in Onshape. And then create a multi-view drawing. And add dimensions on that drawing. That's what I want you to submit. A couple tricks that I want to show you. Another student found this out before I was going to reveal it to you guys, which is great, but he kind of stole my thunder. There's actually a really nice shortcut for making a multi-view drawing in Onshape. It'll just save you time. So if I go to, I can do this one, that's fine. So I made this part already. Right, so you guys would have made your part. What do you found out? That down here, it lists the parts that you've made. Well, we're only making one object so far. We're not making 2 things in once. If I click on the part, it highlights it gold. Say, is this the part you want? Well, yeah, that's the only thing I made. If I right click and I go to create drawing of this part, I would always just pick this standard one. It doesn't really matter. Instead of doing a blank drawing, it knows the engineering standard already. So I click the 4 views, okay. What it'll do is it'll create my part drawing for me. I won't have to manually say put the front view here, put the right view here, put the top view and the ISO here. It does it for you. Right? So this is, I needed you guys to show me you could do this on your own. Because sometimes you don't want these views. Or sometimes you've made your shape where Onshape thinks this is front, the way you designed it, but you designed it facing the other direction. So it'll do the front view, but the way you drew it, it's actually the back side of the object. Our front view is the best perspective, not the front in Onshape. Because I could have made this part rotated. Well, then Onshape thinks of everything backwards. So sometimes you might do this and you might have to fix it. So at least I want you to know how to make a part drawing manually. The other thing I want you to do is highlight all of these, right click, and do show hidden lines. Right? Then it's going to show you all your hidden lines so that you could finish dimensioning correctly. Just in case you didn't know, the dimension tool is here. So I click dimension. I'll be like, I want to dimension this side. Boom. You already dimensioned it appropriately when you made the model. So Onshape knows exactly how big everything is. You just got to tell it. If I want to dimension from, I want to dimension from here to here, I can tell it to do that. It knows everything. You just got to tell me what do you want to dimension. All right? You could also dimension the center of your circle. I want to go center of my circle to edge. That's 1 inch away. I want to go center of my circle to the bottom. Boom. I've fully dimensioned the location of my circle. Well, to dimension the size, boom. Just tell it, size of the circle, bingo. Then you just click through and tell Onshape, hey, show this dimension, show this one. Once you have everything, you're done. Again, print a PDF. It might show up as a pop-up. Your browser will say, oh, pop-up was blocked. Go to allow and then retry it. download this and submit this to Classroom. A lot of you guys are still in Onshape. You're clicking the share button. You're sharing this part with me. I don't want access to your files, right? You don't need to, that's not what I want you to submit, and I don't need to access your file. I just need that drawing. So don't be sharing the file with me. Make sure that on the assignment, I'll ask you, like today, print a PDF of this or download a PDF. Put that on Classroom because I grade it in Classroom. Any other questions? If you need help with how to dimension, just Google dimension a drawing in Onshape. Almost guaranteed, like the first link, there will be an Onshape resource. Like, hey, here's how we dimension in our software. Here's a video example. I say that because I want you to be able to realize, like, you have a lot of resources. You don't have to ask me every time how to use the software. There's YouTube videos. Onshape has tons of tutorials. So be sure to use your resource and do a quick search. How do I use the revolve feature in Onshape? There'll guaranteed be an article or a link or a video for that. Any questions about what we're doing? All right. So take some time to work through this 1.2.4, the dimensioning worksheet. Practice on 1 and 2, and then drawing 3 is the one you want to focus on, because then you're going to make that 3D object. You're going to make a multi-view drawing. Remember that shortcut. And then you're going to add your dimensions and submit that file to Classroom. Again, I'll be around if you have any questions, if you get stuck. I also have the answer key that I can show you guys. If you're like, I really don't know if I'm doing this right, I can come over and show you how you should be doing it and kind of point you in the right direction. Yes. What's that? No, it's not so bad. Yes, so you only missed the last class, right? Just that one? Okay, so you'll be back next week, right? Okay, because I was getting ready. I had a note to like email you stuff that you would be missing, but I'm glad you were able to be back. So oh, that's right. Dude, I gotta print one of those off real quick. Drew, if you want to get 1.2.3 open, I'll walk you through what it is. Yes. You remember how to do that?
Yeah, but I didn't know how you want us to because I don't know how you want us to because.
Oh, okay. The issue with the way you dimension this.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, because this doesn't tell me the location. It only tells me center to my edge.
Yeah.
Well, where is this located? So you want to dimension from center to the edge of an object. So that if I were drilling a hole, I'd like go to my edge, I'd measure and drill here and here, right? So you could basically just go center to this edge, tell me what that is, center to that edge. The other thing that I want to, what's that?
How do you want us to figure out the diameter of it?
Well, that one you here. One thing that I want to point out, you guys, is you guys might have been asking yourself, like, oh, what the heck? I don't know how big this side length is, right? It's 3 cubes, but I don't know what that is. Well, this is what you want to pay attention to. All those drawings in that worksheet, they have a scale. That scale says that every 2 block lengths is 1 inch long. So this object is 1, 2, 3 block lengths. Well, that's 1.5 inches. That's how I know this dimension would be 1.5 inches. So in case you didn't see that in the corner, that scale tells you how big everything actually is. So you can put 1.5. This circle goes from the middle here to the middle here. Well, that's only 1 block length. So the diameter of that circle is 1/2 inch. Just so you know kind of where to pull those dimensions from. No. You would want like the overall length, and then you would need to dimension like this length, and then you're good. Because I would have this measurement, and this measurement, because I do like total minus this, and I can know that. So you would just write overall, this one, and then add 1 more, and then you're good for that side. It's fully dimensioned. So here is 1.2.3. Yeah. So I gave you an example of how to do drawings. It's a tutorial video. Okay. Yeah. All this one is saying is basically pick the 3 virtual blocks, right, that we've always been using. Yep. The rectangle and that triangle. To reference them, if you go to 1.2.1, they have them with dimensions. Basically, I want you to make that object model it in 3D space. You could also use it from the last assignment. You've made them before. You can just open apart and then figure out how to make a multi-view drawing. And then submit that multi-view drawing. That's all I wanted you to do. Today, I might have you focus instead on this, and you can do this like later. That way you can be on track with this. You have the iron quiz and then the test. Unit 3 test. The iron quiz should be really easy. Remember my hint that I gave you? What's that? Yeah. So you remember the hint though. I want you guys to do literally Roman numerals tell you the charge. If it's iron 2, you would write Fe. You need to know what iron symbol is. And if it's iron 2, it's a +2 charge. If it's iron 3, it's a +3 charge. So it'll literally kind of tell you the answer. So I want you to be aware of that. That was that thing I was telling you guys. But what I'll have you do is focus on this. That way you can submit this today because it's really straightforward. Doing the multi-view drawings. Yeah. If you wanted to, you can focus just on this one because that's the one you have to make and then do a multi-view of. No, but you should. Because this is practice, and then this is the one that really matters. Because you need all your dimensions to make the object. Well, I can show you that a bit. Like once kids start making a part, they can do it. So I would work on 1.2.4. Later, again, this sheet is practice. This is practice for drawing views. And then all you do is take one of the virtual blocks. So make one virtual block. Make view drawing. That's all 1.2.3. Yep. But this one, if you can complete today, you'll be on track, and then that one you can do whenever. And when you submit this in classroom, comment like I was absent. That way, when I see it, it'll be late, but I won't take points off. Which one are you doing? Okay. Are you making the overall shape or the cutouts? Yeah. Are you making the main object, or are you making these little cutout things? Okay, what are you doing right now? Like, what are you trying to accomplish? Okay. What I would do start with this, make this shape, so you make the overall shape, but then you make these cutouts. Well, you dimensioned it. You told me it's 3.5 by 2.5. Yeah, like that's like looking at the front object, and then when I go here, I look at the top. It'll be this big, that big, that tall. So what you did is you looked at the top and said, I drew this shape, and then I kind of take this and rotate it. How far do I pull it? It's 3 inches. That's how I knew it was 3. Then what I'm going to recommend is draw on top of here and draw the first cutout you do. Right, this big rectangular cutout. How big is it? Well, it's 2 by 2.5. So you draw a rectangle from this corner by 2.5 by 2. And then what you're going to do is you're going to cut it down 1/2 inch. It's a So then I'm going to go and I'm going to extrude that. I'm going to extrude that shape, but I want to remove the material. I don't want to add stuff. Well, what depth? Well, either from the side, that big rectangle only goes down 1/2 inch. So that's how you figure out, right? Then I need to do the smaller one. Well, you can draw that rectangle in the corner of 2 and 1.5. You're going to cut it 1 inch. Holes, let me answer a couple more questions and I'll show everybody. There's 2 ways, and
I don't have a question about your thing. I need to go with the office. I got signed up for the thank you. Because the thing I was asking you is, is it my 5K? Because the lady was in page 12.
Okay. Alright. Yes, just hustle. Again, this is still due today. I want you to.
But do you want me to do the stuff I missed? Like, I was drawing?
Yeah. that quick, and I'll remind me to touch base before we leave and explain the 2 days. Yeah. Antonio, you need help with something? What's that? Yeah, remember how you use this? Forces? That's how you'll always get it. In your courses, it actually instructs you also. That's our course. We're on 1.2.4. And then again, in Google Classroom, I have simplified instructions to kind of help you focus on what you should be doing.
Yeah, it's just loading now. And the tools are being made.
Can I have you go talk to Mr. Walter and ask him if he knows what's going on? He's in the library. He's got that big, like, looks like a drive-up window that's got technology. Just ask Mr. Warden there, like, hey, I'm in Mr. I joined this class. Does everything else work? Everything else is working. Like, my on-chip always works fine. Yeah. Yeah, I'm gonna have you actually go down there right now and just mention that to him. Like, say, like, this is like 3D software. It's all browser-based. Everyone else is working. Everything on mine works except for this site, and see if he knows what's going on. I would just go ask him. Hey guys, one thing that I want to show you when you're making this part. Some of you guys were asking, like, how do I make this hole? Well, there's 2 ways, right? I could draw a circle, sketch a circle, and extrude, remove all the way through, right? Instead of extruding it to add material to make a cylinder, I could make a cut and remove it. There's also a hole feature in Onshape. To do this, I'll show you what I did. All I did was I made a sketch on this surface where I want my hole, and I placed a point, right? I literally just took a point, and I placed it about where I wanted it. Well, I need to know exactly where that hole, this is going to be the center of my hole. So I dimension, well, my hole center, it's 1 inch away from this wall. So I do my dimensioning tool right here. And I clicked here, and then place my dimension and set it to 1, because that's what my part drawing says. Well, now I need to know how far away is it from the bottom. I did the same thing, dimensioning tool from the point to this wall, and it was 3/4 of an inch. All I did was place a point in my sketch. Then, when I go to my hole feature, what it prompts me for is select the point to place the hole. Well, I just drew it, so I literally just clicked the point I made. How big do you want your hole to be? Well, what was it dimensioned to be? It was right at 1 inch, wasn't it? So I just say, well, it's a 1 inch diameter hole. It goes all the way through my object. Boom. There's my hole. So you could do it either way. If you did it the circle way, draw a circle, your sketch, you would have to draw your circle. But again, dimension that center point a certain distance away from this edge and a certain distance away from that edge so that you locate it. You don't want your hole to be over here. You want it right in this middle according to your part drawing. So I wanted to clarify that. That's how you'd make that hole feature. And again, in general, my process, I made this overall block correct dimensions. I drew this big rectangle right here, and I removed it down. I made a cutout. It looked like this. I made that cutout the appropriate depth. Then I made another sketch for my this cutout, and I took that correctly dimensioned shape and extruded it the correct dimension down. I removed that extrusion. And that gave me my shape I wanted, really straightforward, rather than trying to build it up with these weird like L shapes. So I just wanted to share that piece for you guys. Figure it out. You did? Did you make the multi-view drawing? That was the goal. You make the part, but then you got to make this drawing in Onshape. So you have to make the part, tell Onshape to make the drawing for you, and then add dimensions. The drawing, the multi-view dimension drawing. That was the goal, right? Because today we're on dimensioning. So you manually dimensioned it. You're going to make an 3D object, make a multi-view drawing, and then put dimensions in your actual like part file. And again, do you remember that trick to create that multi-view? That'll save you a lot of time. And then you're literally just going to be telling Onshape like add this dimension, add this dimension. Yeah, if you're like me, it's you can. What you would do is basically you would. Here, I can show you a workaround. If I draw a line from here to here, I want to make this a construction line. See how it turned there. If it goes dashed, it's basically like. It's not actually the edge of my, it's not a sketch, it's just like this reference line. It's like a ghost line. What I'm then going to do, I'm going to place a point on my line. You see that? That it popped up as a square. That's telling me that's like my midpoint. Then you can do something called a sketch constraint. I can say I want this and this to be coincident, in line with each other. That's how you would do that. The other way, for future reference, there's more rectangle options. One of them is a center rectangle. So that would have been helpful for the way that you want to design, is I would want a center point. I make the center of my rectangle out on my origin, and then I just draw my random rectangle, dimension appropriately. That way I know the center will always be on that origin. And then the reason this needs to be a construction line is that when you finish your sketch and you go to extrude, yes, it'll take your whole shape. If this was a solid line, Onshape would be saying, like, do you want this triangle? Do you want this triangle? No, I want both. So it just saves you some headache. And then you extrude that 3 inches. Yep. That makes sense? Good. What shape are you wanting to extrude? So whatever you want to remove, you need to make the outline, make a sketch of it. Then you click extrude, and instead of adding, like normal, there's an option for remove. This is like usually what happens. It always assumes extrudes are adding. And typically they are. But you would just go to remove. Instead of adding material in that shape, it's going to remove material. So that's how you do it. In order to do that, you need to draw what shape you want to remove. Okay.
I was wondering, I was like, wait, this doesn't look like that.
Oh, well, I'll go with it. It doesn't make a lot.
Not very cool.
That's fine. So you've already got this part. You dimensioned it. That's it. I wanted everyone to do the same with this. As long as you can make it, dimension it correctly, make the drawing and show dimensions. That's what I care about. So just keep working with that. So what are you trying to cut out first? So one, I would suggest cut this big piece out. then cut the little piece. So you want to sketch, right, on this space, right? Yeah, on this space. So I want to cut it this way, in the front direction. I'm going to draw here. I'm going to draw on my cube. And then you're going to make a rectangle. Well, the rectangle starts in this corner. It goes something. Yep. Two on that side. Boom. That's the outline of the cut you want to do. Yeah, but I would extrude it first. So go ahead and do that extrude command. Yep. And then it's asking you like, what do you want to extrude? Well, you want that shape you just moved. I would always go to the top corner of the cube. That guy. That way you're seeing in the best. If you don't understand what it's doing, then you just need to know how deep you want that. It's pretty skinny. How do you know that? It looks like you're missing the dimension here, right? You told me that this overall like width is 1 and well, is this exactly in the middle? I don't know. So you just have to tell me. And it is. It's half 0.75. That way I know this is 0.75. That has to be 0.75 in order to have it. That was the only thing. Well, then you know the depth of that big cut is 0.75. Your depth, you're going to change to 0.75. Then you're going to make a new sketch. Yep, good. Make a new sketch on that surface and do a little square and cut it all the way through. Like position it correctly. So that one. So this is the scatter in right now, right? So what you need to do is dimension this. You need to position that. So you're going to say from the center of my circle to this inch, right? So then I tell it the hole is, in this line. So then I need to figure out how far. Because right now, So right now I've only dimensioned it so that it's 1 inch left. I can move it. My hole isn't actually located. Right? So now you need to say, okay, I dimension in X direction, now I need to dimension in Y. So
As soon as he did what it was.
Did he fix it?
Oh,
what did you do?
I don't even know. He typed in some numbers and deleted some things.
Dang, now I want to know. Maybe I'll ask him.
It was Brian.
40 minutes? Yeah, he's good. Not quite. So what you can do, double click the dimension you just made and you can change it. There. So now you can say, well, I don't want to have to how far off is the center away from that. No, this would be a quarter. Yeah. So you want it half an inch, and then another quarter. Right? It's 1.5. Rib length, well, that's 0.75. Yep. And now you know the size of the hole, and you know the X and Y location. So you see how everything. Okay. So now this is that tells you that that's what it's fully good. Prior, did you see that it was like blue? That means I can move it.
So basically, those are the
So if you see all this, you're like, okay, I know it's set exactly where I want it. Okay. then all you're going to do is remove that. Oh, remove. What you can do, this is, thank you. This is called a through. It means it literally just goes through from surface to surface. So instead of setting the distance, you can change it to be through all four links. It'll go to the next surface that reaches and stop. It'll go hard or through everything. What this does is literally cuts a hole in here. If you cut a hole like all the way through on there, that would be what you want. I'm just showing that. Advanced step for questions if you get through. Does that make sense? Yeah. The only piece you were missing is dimensions of location. So that's surface. So now you remember that trick for making the video. Right click and hard. Yeah. It'll just save you a lot of time. And that it knows that's the new standard. Right top. Okay, you didn't extrude it. Doesn't it go all the way through? The one that changes through. Now we need to go to you extruded 3.1. Probably only one. So this needs to change. But you're big. So this is the nice thing about it does everything in order of what you do. So if I change my sketch, it does everything you told it to do with what you do information. Well, everything was referenced fine, so you didn't have to hear it. Yes, I think you are. Now you just need to make the part drawing. Good. Remember the trick. Click on that part. Right click. Click on that one. Right click. Create a drawing above that. Then click the 4 views. It'll do 4. It'll say
How exactly would I draw the L?
So I wouldn't draw the L. I would realize, I would look and say like, if I have my cube, I'm realizing there's a rectangle cutout. Well, I want to draw that shape and then just cut it whatever distance it is, right? That's my first cut, that first stair step. Well, then there's another one. Then I was like, okay, that's good. Now I need to make another sketch. The size of that cutout is blank. And then I make that sketch. And then I cut it down. Well, now I have my stair step.
Okay.
I would make your cutouts and cut the big one first, half an inch. Then cut the smaller one by 0.75, whatever it is. Then you now have a surface. We'll just draw your circle or make your hole and cut that through. So that's the most efficient way to make that part. Trey?
Wait.
Looks good. Looks
No,
good.
wait a second. How do I pull up the hidden lines again?
Oh yeah, I would select all your views. So click and drag and highlight all of them. Yeah, there you go. Ooh. And then right click on a view. Oh, what the? Oh. It might be because you have dimensions. You'll probably have to do one by one. You click on the view and you show these hidden lines.
Okay.
they're never turned on by default, not to my knowledge, but then it shows you your hole.
Mhm.
Yep. Yes. Looks good. Very nice. How do you make your hole? Did you place a point and use the hole feature? Yeah, it's pretty slick, right? You just need to put that point first, and then that's all you need. Pick the size of the hole, how big it is, boom. That's great. Now all you need to do is make that multi-view drawing. Do you remember the shortcut for how to make that drawing that I showed you? So you go on the bottom left and click part. You click it, it'll highlight, it'll confirm, like, this is the part you want, like, yep. Right-click that, and tell it to create a drawing of that part, right in the middle. Then what you're going to do, you're going to click the for view. This is not a blank document, and click OK. Yeah, this standard one is just fine. And it'll place them for you. It knows the standard of front, right, top ISOs. No, you're not quite done. Remember, today's about dimensioning. So all you have to do is add dimensions. Well, it's actually really easy. All your dimensions are there. It's just you got to tell OnStage, like, which one should I show? But sometimes it's like this. Like this, it might just need to refresh the page. It's going, yeah, there we go. Boom. Replace front, right, top, and ISO automatically. Now all you need to do is add dimensions. Well, the dimension tools, it's the same, right? Your keyboard drives me nuts. So you'll notice it'll highlight gold. If there's a solid line, it'll highlight that. But sometimes, like, I want this edge to this edge. Well, there's no solid line. So I need to click this line to this line. Yes. So it says from here to here, then put my dimensions. So sometimes that'll be a trick you'll have. On this side, that whole edge, I want from here to here. Well, I don't need to click that because this is a solid line, so I'm going to just click my line. There. And then just keep adding dimensions. The other thing is, I would show, if you right click, okay, you can right click, and at the very top of that menu that shows up, you show hidden lines. It'll show you all the hidden lines. That way you can see that hole.
Okay, so.
Yeah, and then keep adding all the dimensions that you need in order to fully dimension that, and then print that part.
That is what you want.
I think so. Why are your dimensions so small?
I'm sorry.
I don't know.
So I have no clue. So, but on here,
Them are itty bitty.
they're a little bigger.
That's fine.
Oh, dang.
You got tolerances. Yep, that's fine. Actually, this is fine. But do you see how, like, when I read this, like, this is kind of a mess? You can control that.
So I have no clue how to get them.
Oh, wait. I need to zoom in. Not. Oh, this. That way it keeps the clarity. You can move these.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
And so ideally, you always want the number right in the middle or
Yeah,
a very visible spot.
see, I didn't know how to put them
Yeah.
in.
So if you want to, that would be ideal. That's the best way to do it. If not, that's fine. Drew?
No, stop.
For ICP? Yeah. Yep. You doing this guy? Yeah, so now what you need to do, you cut, it's an extrude, but not adding things, it's removing things. So you're going to see, like, okay, there's this big rectangle, that gets cut like half an inch. Well, if I draw that rectangle and I extrude remove it by a certain distance, that'll cut out what I want. So what you're going to do is go to sketch on the top, and you're going to draw a rectangle, right? It's in this corner. Well, how big is it? Well, 1 inch. 2 inches by 2.5 inches. So I'm going to write this one is 2.5. This one is 2. That's the shape that I want. Now I extrude it, but I don't want it to add material, right? Remove. And it'll typically flip the direction for you. Otherwise, you can do this. So this errors out. You're not cutting anything. That's what you want. How deep does that cut go? No, an inch would be like, an inch would go down to here. Remember? This 2 boxes is an inch, so what's half, just 1 box? 0.5 inches. So that's what you, boom. Yep, now I need to do a littler one, right? This big guy, I need to draw my little rectangle with the appropriate dimensions, and then now I'm going to extrude it, cut it 1 inch. So now you're sketching. No, you need to draw the shape first. So you need to make a sketch on this surface, draw your little rectangle. Right? So use your rectangle tool. Yep, start in this corner and drag the other corner up. Click. And then click somewhere. You change the dimensions. They're not there. It'll lock it. Yep. And then it asks how long is that? Well, 2 inches. You can always dimension it after. Move 1 sec. No one is there. Just try to see this. You know what this means? Sometimes that's hard. Yeah, Brody, I think you're. So all that red space is. So there's some logic. Okay, you need to do that. Here. You need to set the like that. Right? That's your big shape, and then you're going to make those cutouts. Okay, so here you want to draw on the top. So you're going to make this rectangle schedule. How big is that big cutout rectangle? No, that's the overall shape. You made it. I want this cutout. Right? Make that. What's this dimension? No, the overall. I need the size of this rectangle. So it's like 2 inches, 2.5 inches. You're going to make a rectangle starting in this corner, but it's 2.5 by 2. That's the size of that cutout. So you got that. Now I'm going to cut that. Well, to cut, we actually extrude, remove. I want to remove what I just made. How deep does that big cut go? You dimensioned it. Yeah. So your depth, 0.5. Boom. first like square cutout. I need to make another one. I'm going to do the same process but with this rectangle, and I'm going to cut it, extrude cut it by 1 inch.
So this one would be
Looks like 1.5 by 2. You want to take that into linear really quick and see. Just tell them like same thing, on shape.
We'll get demonstrations class.
Yeah, and try and ask him like demonstrations, wondering like what it is, and just fix him, kind of fix that error. Brody, you said he did it like no time, right? It's literally just in the library. There will be a big open like drive-up window, and it'll say technology above it. That's Mr. Wardinger.
So did you say to highlight all of these?
Oh, the problem is you've already dimensioned, so it won't do what you want. So you highlight one at a time. So highlight actually this one, and then right-click. Show hidden
Now
lines.
it works.
Now it works. It'll show you all the hidden lines. You want to see those.
But then I tried it for this one.
You should be able to. Yep, there you go. At the very top.
Show shading.
Oh, it's blocking. It won't show the whole menu.
Make sure you're looking at where you're click on it. No, try to where it's where.
You see the menus getting cut off at the top.
You gotta click on the thing.
There. Now you can keep adding your dimensions. Huh? There aren't any, so you could do it, but there's nothing to show. Where are you at? Okay. You should be done with dimensioning. So again, all these things that we're doing, they need to be done in class. So that's the trick is if you don't.
Well, you did the square, right? Kind of. Little bit.
I give you this time of work. I don't know. What I'm going to do different this is
I don't know.
extend it for a while.
No, I didn't read it. Like what he did on the
I'll keep this.
I don't know what the rest of it is. Dude, what is the
No.
rest?
that was good though.
No, that's what my computer does.
Oh my
It's
god.
been like that. It's tablet.
And it's
I don't think
That's not good. You be very gentle because that is really close to stamping off.
no, I'll
Be very careful. I don't want that to break and then you gotta pay for that. That looks scary.
It's pancake. How did you get it onto it?
Oh, I just typed in number and it gave me red. Probably the hard stuff.
Hacker.
Well, one of them is making multi-view
Oh,
drawings.
yeah.
So just like, yeah, it's like you make a 3D object non-face and then you like,
What did you
tell it to
do?
do a drawing.
Yeah, like this, like the dimension and stuff we talked about earlier.
You need.
Just like a little cube.
I actually don't know what you said. I know. No, I said I don't know what you did. Like, I don't know what you did. Well, I get your thing before you. The rest of the
Friday.
Yeah, I did. It's still
How
up
to do 3D models.
there.
They're also all on classroom.
It's alright.
I don't know.
You should.
You got screwed it. I really see.
Stop breaking on it.
I can't help it. It just happens. It's just natural.
Okay, so one of them is
yes, 1.2.2 is making virtual blocks. If you click on this assignment, I'm saying these shapes,
I think yours is.
just 3 simple blocks, I want you to make them in on
Yours
yeah.
I gave you a grade for it, right?
I have no idea. I'm just looking at stuff I missed.
Well, that's
Tuesday, Wednesday. Oh, this
it would only be 1 day.
Why is this not red?
That's what
It's
you,
not
you
red.
said 2 days.
I don't
So
know.
you're good on that. Double, make sure your power's free. It should be the grade. You said 2 days. That's not 2. I said
No, I just missed business school, but I keep forgetting he blocks it.
yeah, you missed one of mine. All that was 1.2. And that's the one you needed.
I think it just looks
So
solid.
go back, check it. Make sure you got it. Yeah, you got it. I graded that.
To me,
You're just missing this. That, all that is, this is. The 3 blocks you made in 1.2.2, you're one of them.
That's the top.
You made,
I gotta read here.
you made the drawing. Go back and on-shape.
Keep down.
Big one.
Remember our name?
Dude, you screwed it so hard. Stop clicking around a button.
Now it's ready.
Yeah, I'm just changing. The correct dimension. So that's the cylinder. Are there? Just these? Thank you very much. Typically, what I have students do for this assignment was they take the drawing. This now, you do have to tell it, like, I taught you here, like here, as I taught you here, as an
That's what I was going to do.
You put this part, when you make it, you tell like, hey, I want to make a drawing. Do this thing. Instead of doing blank, you tell me what the views are. Because did you do today's assignment already? Did you get it finished?
No.
Okay, so that I need to do extending the deadline. Yes, but midnight tonight. Typically, all these things are in class. So this one's a little tricky. So by midnight, you can do 1.2.4. What you submit is a multiple drawing of height. Right? Did you make the object yet? You gotta
I started it.
You gotta make that, then make a drawing like this, but add dimensions. Add
So like
dimensions.
this, I'll just go ahead and submit that.
Yes. The best thing is,
Yeah, see, I didn't like
so it places the views. This is all
I had a feeling it wasn't going to go
only
much.
3 weeks. How do we give the software to make them?
I don't know why it's there.
That's this.
You won't see it. The key to remember to submit this, you gotta make a file. So you go here and print it. See, block your pop-up. You're gonna say like, hey, allow pop-ups from this site. Try it again. It will make you a PDF of that drawing.
Okay.
Now you just gotta get the PDF. You get a copy of this.
This is not.
Call it whatever. You know,
I gotta be
1.3. Go to your download by default. Now let's get Classroom.
This
Add or create. You need to attach the file. Click File. And you'll upload it from the computer. It's not in Drive. You need to pull it from the computer. All it needs to download. So go to downloads.
Okay.
On this and attach that. That way, you attach, when I open it, I'll see your something happen. So many students are submitting things blank. They say, I'm done.
Maybe when you
Attach
check
it.
it, but you can't go just.
Yeah, I open this, there's literally nothing. So then,
I already submitted it.
oh, probably because I returned it as a 0. Okay. So what I need you to do, resubmit, but make a comment to me. Say, I was asked. That way it's gonna show up as late, but when I put it in hours either, I know you got it. That makes sense? Yes, that's fine. Just make sure you send that. That way I don't incorrectly do your then your only thing you need to do to be back on track is finish 1.2.4. You'll make this part in Onshape according to these dimensions, right? The scale.
I'm thinking it's 2 blocks per day. 2 squares are in.
Yes, correct. Make that 3D object, make a multi-view exactly like you just did, but you need to add dimensions. So you can either Google, there's a Onshape tutorial, like how do you do dimensions.
That's why you got most of your work. Always YouTube it.
Yeah, and I'm encouraging you guys to, because, like homework and stuff, I can't be there all the time, but there's tons of resources. So as long as you can get that done by midnight, you'll be all squared away.
Thank you.
You bet. And then also, if you have any missing assignments, try to get those done, at least give you that. But, and I don't know if you do it. Holy smokes.
Invisible.
Yeah, no, that's
Okay, you missed one big thing. We never dimension an isometric. So the only, you never dimension those. And this looks like too many dimensions, but it's fine. Just leave it like this. Alright, go ahead and submit that. Oh, this is 1.2.4, what you're doing. Yeah, update that. And then you can submit this for me right now, so you're good. So print it. You go to the hamburger menu. I call it a hamburger menu. Yep. Yep, the 3 lines. Thanks, Greg. And then print. Do you see how it blocks your pop-up? If you hit this button and you say, no, I want to allow pop-ups from Onshape, try it again. It'll make a PDF. You need to download this to your computer. That way you have a copy. And then in Google Classroom, you got to upload that file into Classroom and submit that file. That's all you need to do. And then, yes, yeah, like, well, because you're getting the easy route. The other students, they had to do it by scratch. So, all you would really need to do, this is one you made, might use our trick. 4 views. They had to tell Onshape to put a front view here, put it right at the top of the ISO. Okay, because, well, we need to know what we're doing before we use all these just shortcuts. This drawing, make a PDF, upload that for 1.2.3. That's all you need. Those 2 assignments are done. Just submit them. I think so. Check Power School. If you got any zeros.
Chemistry, I heard you guys did the room.
Yes. Chemistry, we'll talk in chemistry. Okay. Are you done? Yeah. Yep, so just right click the part, then create doc drawing, and then click the 4 views. Now you're good. It'll make your drawing. The only thing you need to do is add dimensions. So what you do is you'll use this dimension tool, and you'll click like, I want from here to here. Click that line. That's good. That's one dimension you need. Perfect. And then you just keep dimensioning all the things that you need. Once you have everything dimensioned, you print that document as a PDF, save it, and then upload that to Classroom. That's what I drew.
So, you said upload to a PDF?
No, remember you print it.
So then,
Click that, print. There's your PDF, download it, upload that file to Classroom. Dang it, I was just saying it over here. Okay, when you guys are finished, you click. It's hard to see, but in the far left, it'll tell you the part. If you click that, it'll highlight what you're doing. I right-click and say Create Drawing of Part 1. In the options, I want to click this For View. It'll place your views for you. Boom. It'll make your drawing for you. You just need to now do the dimensioning part. That's the only thing missing. So you need to go in and add all your dimensions. So I'm going to use my dimension tool and I'm going to say, okay, I need the height. I need to know from here to here. I need to know the circle. Resubmit, because that's the whole goal of today is those dimensions. Again, I'm going to keep this assignment for you guys open till midnight. This assignment's a little tricky, so I don't want, right now, due date is a little too soon, so I'm going to leave it end of the night, finish this up, and submit it to Classroom. Drew, you're asking how to submit it. In Classroom, you open 1.2.4 in Google Classroom. You need to add what you did. You need to attach your work to submit. So hit the Add button, right? It'll ask you like a file. Add or create a file. You want to upload a file. It's not in Drive, so you need to click Upload. Well, go Upload. It'll go to your MacBook. Well, your PDF you should have downloaded to your Downloads folder. Just go to that, pick it, boom. It'll attach it, then submit your assignment. A lot of you guys have submitted an assignment, and there's nothing attached. So I go to grade it, and it's literally just a blank page. There's nothing there, so I have to give you a 0. So pay attention. If I'm wanting a snapshot, a screenshot, attach it to your submission. Right? Don't do your work. If it's a paperwork, don't do your work and then just say, hey, I'm done, Mr. H, and then put it in your pocket. I can't grade that. You need to actually give me the work that you did so I can see it and grade it. I'm only emphasizing this because I've had so many blank submissions. People submit something, but there's literally nothing there. Well, I have to give you a 0 because you didn't do any work.
Please, Lord. It's not. You got it?
I just realized
I'm scared to reload it.
Couple like sporadic students. Hey, dimension. So this, I'm just helping students like you
you need to say just add all the dimensions you need. So it's a ballpark too, that shows electronics, and then stuff you have to do that. You're gonna have to do that too.
Okay, now we do the, we're gonna put
I'd rather just show you the PDF, download it, and get that file. Service will have to like, and again, you have to midnight too.
okay, so.
I don't know. You gotta dimension it fully. No, dimension it fully doesn't mean dimension every single one. It means dimension everything you need to know about the part. Never I don't know dimension. That's not a big
Yeah, download it, then upload it.
Yep. You save a local copy. It's in the top right.
I did it 2 seconds.
You want to get a copy for yourself and then upload it. All right, guys. Just remember, you guys have till midnight to do this. Make sure to upload the PDF of your dimensions multi-view. Virtual students, your due date is different. It'll be on Google Classroom. It'll tell you when yours is due.